What's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Monique, you have jumped back in to weigh in on Oprah. You know that's Monique's favorite subject and what's going on with Taraji B. Henson. Now, listen, I want to address a lot of comments I heard, or actually I read, because y'all know I be in the comments even if I don't comment, right? A lot of people were sitting there talking about, oh my God, why y'all picking on Oprah? Oprah ain't have nothing to do with that. She's the producer. That's set with the studio. And let me just say this before we get into what Monique says, because I think everybody needs to hear it. Okay. I think a lot of people, and this is what makes me mad about people, people that hide in the shadows. A lot of people actually don't know what producers do. If you guys don't know, the producers are in charge of setting a budget, not the studio. See, here's what happens. You're going to make a movie, right? And the producers are the ones that literally work with the studio who's financing the movie to say, listen, we all need about this much. Let's just say it's 50 million for the movie, okay? I think The Color Purple cost, let's just actually use real numbers. I think The Color Purple was 13 million to make, okay? So let's just say, okay, so we'll do it to 10. So let's just say the movie is 10 million to make. The producers, as soon as the script is greenlit, the producers, some of there are investor producers like Tyler Perry, other ones are active hand-on producers like Oprah. Okay, I don't know if Steven Spielberg was hands-on, but Oprah presented herself as the face of Color Purple. Why? Because she starred in the original, and Oprah Winfrey is an icon. Okay, all right, so y'all with me? So the producers say to the studio, it's going to be about $10 million to make. Now, movies notoriously always go over budget, no matter what. Okay. That's the producer's job, to make sure that the movie is landed in as close to budget as possible. Producers and directors are notorious for bumping heads because the directors have this artistic vision and the producers are like, yeah, but you better get this vision done for $100,000. And the director is like, no, I need $500,000 to make this vision come to life. You see what I'm saying? So the studio greenlights. Then they hire producers. Producers are, it's also a paid job, right? Unless you're an investing producer. They hire the producers who are often investors, but whatever. They hire the producers and the producers set the budget. The producers then take that 10 million, because that's what they told the studio it was going to be, and they allot it for everything. This is how much the director's getting paid. This is how much the cameraman's getting paid. This is how much the craft services are getting paid. This is how much, wait, hold on. This is how much the cameramen are being paid. This is how much we have for marketing. This is how much we have for promotion. But more importantly, this is how much we have to pay the cast. This is how much we have to pay each individual person. This is how much we have to pay for food, for drivers, for security. Every single dollar that goes into making a movie. And baby, they've been making movies for a long time. So there's no big surprises. Not like they didn't know. Oh, what? People get chauffeurs and people get security, which is standard, right? Because you don't want anything to happen to your star person. Also, the reason why they have chauffeurs back and forth is because when there is an insurance policy on them covering the actors in an accident or whatnot, let's just say like the movie's filming and God forbid something happened to the lead, that means that all that money was wasted. They even get insurance on the actors. Okay. That's why there's drivers, not because they're doing them a favor, so they can control. With actors, nobody's drinking, nobody's doing this. Everybody has a driver that is a trained professional that gets them home safely and picks them up and gives them the set on time. Again, to us, it sounds like pluses, but this is standard for the music industry. I'm not music, for the movie industry, and they don't do it out of the kindness of their hearts. So for Oprah to sit there and say, and I quote, for Oprah to sit there and say, she said, and then as soon as I heard that Taraji was unhappy, she got on the phone to fix the problems. How is the MFing producer, whose job it was to set the budget, Now going back to the studio for more money. These things are settled post-production before they even hire anyone. It is set post-production. That's how they know what producer they can get. That's what, I'm sorry, what director they can get, what camera people they can get, the depth, every part of it. That's how they know how much to pay the craft services. The fact that Oprah now, who has been in a million movies and has a production studio and knows the Hollywood game, along with Spike Lee, Steven Spielberg, a few other people that were producers, right? And you're now saying that you went to a studio post-production, which is unheard of, to tell the studio that they need to give more money because the Black actress is complaining. You already put a gold sticker on Taraji P. Henson's head as a problem child. And the reason Taraj told Oprah is because Oprah chose to be the hands-on producer. Again, some producers are hands-off and they only invest, and others are actually hands-on. Oprah was the hands-on producer. Taraj did what she was supposed to do. She went to her producer and said, why don't you guys have a budget for food? Why don't you guys have a budget for movie trailers, which is standard? Because what is the staff doing in between takes? Why don't you have a budget for our hotel? Why don't you have a budget for our travel? Why don't you have a budget for even driving? And then Oprah turned around and it's like, oh, it's cool. Y'all can just get some rental cars. Oprah, Steven Spielberg, Spike Lee, and the other producers made the decision to literally disrespect them as actors and actresses. Taraji has been in a lot. I don't care if you don't like her body or work. She's been in a lot. She deserved more respect. Fantasia's new, so what? She deserves more respect. The fact that you guys chose to, when you could cut corners, instead of taking out of your salary, and Oprah, you don't need the money. Steven Spielberg, you don't need the money. Spike Lee, I don't think you need the money either. Instead of taking out of your salary, Tom Cruise did that when the studios cut the things. I think Tom Cruise regularly takes money out of his salary and pays the underlings. I don't mean to call them underlings, but you know what I'm saying. When the studio, or when the not the studio, but when the producers decided to be cheap, the producers decide how much money it is. And then you have the person whose job it is to set all these budgets and knew that they didn't allow money to be like, I went back to the studio. You know, the answer was going to be no. No, it's going to be no. And this is my issue. And let's call out Spike Lee. Let's call out Steven Spielberg. Let's call out all the producers. But for Oprah, who has a lot of love from the Black community and is a Black woman, it's not that she did anything worse than what Steven Spielberg and Spike Lee did. And let's call Spike Lee. But I just expected more, especially from a billionaires that don't need the money. But remember I told you about billionaires? That's how it goes. That's why Taraj is so upset. And that's why anybody that knows anything about movie making is looking at Oprah sideways. What you mean? That's like literally HR giving your manager budgets to make like employee lunch. And the landlord, and you're like, you get the analogy, right? Let me not go into this too much. Anyway, let's jump into what Monique said, because I think Monique summed it up beautifully. Again, Oprah can do what she wants. It's Oprah's money, but your job was MF and producer. And when she said she went back to the studio, she's talking to people because she knows most people. Just like when she did those Hawaii wildfires, Oprah's done a lot. This isn't taking care away from her. She can keep all her money, but don't sit here and spit in our eyes and tell us that it isn't, that it's raining, okay? But let Monique say it, because I think she was oh so eloquent. And it's not just Oprah. It's Tyler Perry. It's Spike Lee. It's Steven Spielberg. It's all these people. We just can't, and let me just say this before I go, we just can't put this on Oprah's shoulders. We can't. Because it is an industry-wide thing. And as much as Vivica Fox wants to front and act like, I never had that problem, baby. You wasn't asking for enough money. Because if you got everything that you got in your bid, that means you need to fire your manager and agent, because they clearly weren't asking you for any money. Because, baby, we can tell by the way those hairlines on those wigs are laying. You wasn't paid that much in those movies anyway. Anyway, y'all, listen. Listen to what Monique says, and then hit me up and let me know what you think what you think of everything in the comments. And I want to know your real opinion. You don't have to agree with me. Let's be respectful. But what's your real opinion? Do y'all still think that Oprah was in the right? Do you agree with what Vivica was saying, or are you riding out with Taraji B? There's no right or wrong answer. Let's just be respectful. All right. I'll talk to y'all after the jump. All right. Bye.
And I just want to give you step by step, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you hear those sisters say, when we showed up, we didn't even have any trailers. When we showed up, there was no food. When we showed up, we had to get ourselves to the set. When you hear all of these things, and who was at the helm of this production, James?
Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, so when you hear all of these things, and then you start saying, see, this is the treatment of the Black actress. It's nothing new. It's nothing new that the trailers are subpar. It's nothing new that either the food is subpar or there's no food at all. That's nothing new. So when Oprah Winfrey sits at the helm and Taraji P. Henson says, it's an honor that we were handpicked. We were handpicked for this movie. Well, if they were handpicked for that movie, those women should have been taken care of from the moment go.
Right.
There's no way they should have walked up and there were no trailers. There's no way there was no food. And then when you hear Oprah say, but when Taraji called me, what did I do, Taraji? Lady O fixed it. When Taraji called Oprah, what happened was, James, Oprah got caught. That's what happened.
And if you look up the title of producer and what it is a producer's job is, you'll find that what Oprah fixed should have already been prepared when they got there under the title of producer. There need not be a fit.
Where Oprah Winfrey and I have a problem is Oprah Winfrey called us up and she said my brother wanted to come on the show and talk about him molesting me, and he wanted to tell other parents how to look out for molesters. My brother Gerald is a charmer. So my mind thought was, because she said, do you want to come on? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat. I said, nigga, I know it's up to a scam, but people can change. And who am I to say he hasn't changed? It might really be different. So I don't want to get in the way of that. I just don't want nothing to do with it. She said, if you don't want me to have your brother on the show, I will cancel the show. No show will happen. But I wanted to call you up to see how you felt first. When I hung up that phone, brother, I looked at my husband and I said, that bitch is all right with me. That's a real...
She kept it
because she didn't have to call me up. She didn't have to say my brother was coming. She could have just ran with shit and let it happen. I dig her for that. Now I begin to see commercials with my brother, my mother, my father, and my other brother. Now, the reason why that means so much is because in the conversation we had about my brother, we then went deeper. And we began to talk about our relationships with our mothers and our fathers. And I shared my relationship with her about my mother, as she shared hers with me, which I will never repeat because she shared it with me about her mother and father. It was in our moment. I shared with her that me and my mother was not talking. I shared with her we were in a really bad place. I shared with her I was hurt and, trying to figure this thing out. She never said my mother was coming on that show, because had Oprah Winfrey said, I'm going to have your mother, I would have said, shut it down. I don't need the world seeing how greedy my mother is. If you had given me the opportunity, I would have said, I can't put my mother, that's still my mother.
Right.
Okay? Now here comes this show. And here comes the commercials. And now I'm starting to see my mother and my father and my other brother, who was my manager. We didn't discuss